So in this video we're going to be taking a look at driving the Robotino around and using sequencing so that we can make it perform a series of actions. So we have our control panel that we set up in our last exercise, and all I've done here is I've come on and turned on the connection values so that we can see the values of these. And so if we run the program and open the control panel and now drive it around, we see that my Robotino moves, and we also see the values here. This can be kind of useful for debugging. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the program and I'm going to turn on the description so that we can see what's going on here a little bit. And the important thing that we need here is to look at this OmniDrive controller. And we see that we have here a VX and VY and then also Omega for rotation. So we know that this control panel output is just going to be outputting X and Y directions, basically the direction in which the Robotino should move. And what we're going to do here is just drive that to a constant so that the Robotino always moves. So I'm going to remove the controller itself and I'm going to turn off the descriptions just to tidy stuff up a bit. And I'm going to bring in a constant value here. So I should be able to bring in a generator constant, drag that in here, and maybe I'll set that to something like 5. Okay, should work. Now if I run, we should see that the Robotino here is now, let's put the camera in the right place, moving forwards at 5. Okay, I think that must be like 5 centimeters a second or something. So I could speed this up. I could put it in maybe 25 and we should see the Robotino moving a bit faster. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now this is working, but the problem is that to get the Robotino back to where it started, I have to come up here and say new scene to kind of reset the Robotino, and it will reset like that. But if I wanted this Robotino to drive in a pattern, so kind of forwards and then backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, how do I achieve that? Well, I can use the step-based kind of programming system that is built into Robotino. There's some really good tutorials about that if you come into the help content, but we're going to take a little look at how that might work now. So let's assume that when I start my Robotino program, it will start to drive forwards. What I want to be able to do is to get it to drive forward for maybe 5 seconds and then drive backwards for another 5 seconds. So to do that, I'm going to start with a variable. Now yours will probably be blank by default. I'll just remove the ones that I've got in here. You have this variables folder, it will be empty. And I'm going to come into it and I'm going to choose to add a new variable. Now variables can be different types, but most of the time you're going to want to work with float. There is no integer option, there's only float. And so we're going to put in here something called timer. Now it could be actually called anything, but timer is what I want it to be called. And I'm going to drag out here this timer writer. And so what this means is that any number that goes into this timer writer is set to this global variable timer. And so I can bring in a generated timer here. Okay. And I can drag it over to here. There we go. And then if I turn on the connection values, just so that we can see what's going on here, and then I hit play, we should see, perfect, there we go. So we see the time starts to increase. As soon as we hit play, the time increases and it's counting in milliseconds. So the value of this timer global variable is now 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, etc. What we can do with that is bring it into our main program, and up here we can see that when the program starts, we start in step 1. And it will not transition from step 1 to the next step until some criteria is met. So we're going to add a second step to our program here, step 2, and we're going to change the criteria here so that timer must be greater than 5,000. There we go. So now if timer, which is this global variable here, gets to greater than 5,000, it will jump across into step 2. That's the idea here. Now what's in step 2 at the moment? Nothing. We could create a new program called step 2 and we could copy all of the program execution code into this one, and I'm going to set this to -25. We want the Robotino to go backwards. And actually we could do the same thing again here. We could use exactly the same timer because it's a global variable, it's available within all of our steps. And so we could say what we want it to do is check again if it's greater than 5,000. So it will spend 5 seconds in step 1, and then because we're also writing to timer in step 2, it will cause it to spend 5 seconds in step 2, and then it'll jump back to init. Nothing happens in init, so it comes straight back to step 1, and then should carry on. So if I start the connection to the Robotino and start the program, it should drive forward, so 5 seconds. We see it moving. And there we go. Now we're going backwards for 5 seconds. And hopefully then it should go forwards again. And you can actually see this at the top. You can see which step is active. Step 1, now step 2 is active. If I turn on the connection values in step 2, we see our timer is counting. We're back in step 1 now. So you can keep looking between these different stages. So hopefully that's a little good indication as to how the steps, how you're able to move between steps, and how to make the Robotino drive around. And that's it. I hope you found this video useful. Please feel free to like and subscribe for more content coming soon.